Caitanya Caritamrta reading, Adi-lila chapter 4. Very wonderful part of the Caitanya Caritamrta. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Dadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jina Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Priya Sarupe, Dayata Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahaja Virupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhu Ekarupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabila Sarupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Bharatinokalo, Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam. Haripurata Sundarata Tikatam Basadipita, Sadakridare Kandare Swaratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam pravajantam anapetyam apetya krityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putre titam mayatayo taravo benidustam sarvabhutam pridim munimanatoshmi bhaktiya vihina aparara lakshay shiptascha karma ditaranga madhye kripa mahitvam sharanam prapana brinde namaste charanara vrindam Pajami radam aravinda netram smarami radam madhurashmitasyam vadami radam karuna maradram tato mamanasti katena kapi tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina iti vignaya radhe tvam naivam charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Adi-lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarsdara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to our dearmost, Adi-lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarsdara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering all my Dandavat pranams to our dear Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Pad, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanshakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, continuing with our reading of the 4th chapter. So we've come from the spiritual masters in the 1st chapter. 2nd chapter was fully appreciating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as that same Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 3rd chapter was discussing the external reasons for Mahaprabhu's advent, the loud calling of Advaita Acharya, and to gift the holy name of the Lord. These are external reasons. And now we're describing the internal reasons, the very confidential reasons why Mahaprabhu himself has decided to come. Mahaprabhu wanted to come at this time. It wasn't fixed, the timing, but the loud calling of Advaita Acharya sealed his decision to come at this time. But originally he wasn't particularly necessarily going to come at that time. This is how it's been described. So, the last verse, one of the last verses we read, thus with 2 intentions the Lord appeared with his devotees and tasted the nectar of prema with the congregational chanting of the holy name. He was tasting this prema by the chanting of the holy name. So now we come to a very beautiful lengthy purport by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We began it on Tuesday, but I'm going to complete it now today. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda E Mata Bhakta Bhav Kariya Angikar Apini Achari Bhakti Karila Prachar. Translation. In this way, assuming the sentiment of a devotee, he preached devotional service while practicing it himself. Purport. There's no other incarnation of him adventing as his own devotee. This is completely, utterly unique
We have to appreciate that exceptionally special period of time. Purport. When Rupa Goswami met Srila Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag, Allahabad, he offered his respectful obeisances by submitting that Lord Chaitanya was more magnanimous than any other avatar of Krishna, because he was distributing love of Krishna. So this meeting at Prayag is when Mahaprabhu was on his way back from Vrindavan. He had been to Varanasi and Prayag, and then to Vrindavan, and now he's returning. And on his return journey, he meets Rupa Goswami. And then Mahaprabhu goes to Varanasi, where he meets Sanatana Goswami and sends him also to Vrindavan. But Sanatana and Rupa, they don't meet at that time, because already Rupa Goswami has started to come back to attend to some matters in Bengal, and then he's going to travel to Puri, where he'll meet the Lord again then. So this is the sequence of the journey. So Mahaprabhu met him on the way back from Vrindavan in Prayag. And he quoted Rupa Goswami quotes this beautiful verse, Namo Mahavadhanaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Goratvisay Namaha. That this personality is that most munificent personality, magnanimous personality. There is no other avatar of Krishna like this personality. He's not appearing in his own Godhead, so to speak. He's appearing as a devotee of himself, totally unique. So it necessitates focused attention to really understand the depth of his mood and why he is appearing. Why is Krishna appearing exactly like this? When we catch this, when we realize it deeply, significantly, then our appreciation, of course, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will increase monumentally. His mission was to enhance love of Godhead. That was his mission, to give us that love of Godhead. There had been awe and reverential worship of the Lord previously, but this idea of actually developing a relationship with the Lord, a loving relationship with the Lord, had practically not been opened out. Krishna performed his Vrindavan Lila in a very confidential way. Practically no one, not even Mother Yashoda, really understood what Krishna was doing at nighttime with the gopis. So this was all opened out by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his appearance, 5,000 years later. In the human form of life, the highest achievement is to attain the platform of love of Godhead. This is the highest achievement. Lord Chaitanya did not invent a system of religion as people sometimes assume. We have this unpacked in the 10th chapter of Jayavadama, where this Harihara Bhattacharya, he is questioning this authenticity of Mahaprabhu's movement. Remember, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing this Jayavadama, it's only 400 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he brings up this point in the 10th chapter of Jayavadama about the history and these two personalities. There's Nyaya Ratna. Nyaya Ratna, he's questioning this authenticity of Mahaprabhu's. It seems to be novel, it seems to be new, it's never been given before. So then they come to the Babajis there in Goldrundwip, and they debate, and they are satisfied that actually this is not a new system at all, but this whole history is beautifully opened out in that 10th chapter of Jayavadama, exactly what Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is talking about. Lord Chaitanya did not invent a system of religion as people sometimes assume. They think it's a novel, a new system, because he's not specifically generating this mood of awe and veneration for the Lord. Religious systems are meant to show the existence of God, Dharma. That is how previous religious systems perform their missionary activities, to establish God as the person and to worship him, but not in that loving reciprocal relationship. Religious systems are meant to show the existence of God, to give faith in the reality of God. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, even in the second canto, we have 3 references to the Virat Rupa, trying to establish this principle of the reality of the Lord. Because basically the people are quite impersonal. So this establishing the principle of Dharma in the fact that the Lord is that supreme person, this requires a lot of teaching, etc., in the dharmic schools and so on. But love of that person is different, as Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada will explain. Religious systems are meant to show the existence of God, who is then generally approached as the cosmic order supplier. Everyone goes to church, for example, to ask for their prayers to be fulfilled. They perform their prayers in the mosque, etc., requesting, petitioning the Lord to actually supply their needs. This is the general mood of what religion. Krishna is so great and so high, I can submit my desires and requests to him. But nothing to do with actually a devotional mood towards him. It's completely different from any other religious system. So it would appear that Mahaprabhu had invented a new system of religion. This is what's discussed in that 10th chapter of Jivadhamma. It seems like something new, because previously men had only been intent on fulfilling their desires, on praying to the Lord, as Prabhupada describes it, as the cosmic order supplier. We just have our hands out, oh dear Lord. We have the Christian prayer, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Give us this day our daily bread. We are asking for something. So Christianity, Islam, any other religion, and the Vedic tradition also, this Sanatan Dham, was also about petitioning the Lord, but in a more advanced way. But still it was about this mood of petitioning for something. And devotional service is completely different. Now we're looking to satisfy the Lord, to please the Lord with service. It's completely around the other way. But Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his transcendental mission is to distribute love of God to everyone, loving the Lord. And how do we love the Lord? This is also described in Jivadhamma. 3 ways of loving the Lord. It's called Bhagavat Prapti Abhilas. That means I perform my devotion to that Bhagavan. And then the second higher stage is Anukul Prapti Abhilas. That means I want to perform my service that is favorable to the Lord. Then the third stage is Sohad Prapti Abhilas. I want to perform service in a very loving mood to the Lord. So there's 3 stages. First to the Lord, and then to the Lord in a favorable manner, and then to the Lord in full friendship. So these stages, this is what Mahaprabhu is actually gifting. He's giving a systematic method to connect with the Lord in higher and higher states of devotional service. This devotional service was unheard prior to Mahaprabhu's advent. Anyone who accepts God as the Supreme can take to the process of chanting Hare Krishna and become a lover of God. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is the most magnanimous. This munificent broadcasting of devotional service is possible only for Krishna himself. Advaita Acharya could not have inspired this mood. He could have directed the attention towards Krishna, but he can't actually gift it because he's not directly that Supreme Lord. He is that Supreme Lord in one sense. He's a plenary expansion, Mahavishnu. But he's not the Swayam Bhagavan, that is Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. So he cannot give that ultimately. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya is Krishna. So again, substantiating this point that Krishna's Kaviraj has already established. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has taught the philosophy of surrender to the Supreme Godhead. That's the first stage, Sharanagat. Surrender. But surrender is not the principal quality of bhakti. Surrender is like the first, surrender is about us and our submission to the Lord. It's not about service to the Lord. It's about me surrendering to the Lord. And I've described many times, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gives the example about everyone has to get dressed to go about their daily activities, but getting dressed is not the principal purpose in life. So getting dressed is like Sharanagat. You have to be Sharanagat first. First we have to be dressed. First we have to be surrendered to the Lord. And then we can begin the process of devotional service. Without that Sharanagat, how can we begin even to think about devotional service? So first stage is Sharanagat. But if we just think about Sharanagat all the time, this is actually described as the threshold of bhakti. It's not pure bhakti itself, by itself, because it's about the individual and his submission. It's not about Krishna and the loving relationship between Krishna and the devotee. There's a distinction. So it's all gradations. And Mahaprabhu has whisked us right to the very top of this. One who has surrendered to the Supreme can make further progress by learning to love him. So further progress after surrendering. That's what it means, further progress. By learning to love him. First of all, we learn about his qualities, attributes, and so on. It begins to melt the heart. Then we start by the power of the holy name. The holy name is empowered in this age to give us this focus, this attention on appreciating the absolute nature of the personality himself. It will carry us by its force into a contemplation of the Lord. And ultimately that will begin to melt the practitioner's heart, where he only desires to please the Lord, in every instance to please the Lord. This is the example of all the different personalities, gurus that we're honoring in our line. They're all melting in attraction and affection to the Lord. This is called Bhav Bhakti. And beyond Bhav Bhakti is Prema Bhakti. So it's a process moving through from sadhana, focused on Bhav, and then from Bhav, focused on Prem. Everything is in process. So if you've surrendered to a certain degree today, tomorrow you can surrender more. If you've understood a certain degree today, tomorrow we can go further. Everything is progressive, it's ecstatic, it's not static. So all of these commentaries are guiding us very beautifully forward. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement propagated by Lord Chaitanya is especially meant for those who are cognizant of the presence of the Supreme Godhead, the ultimate controller of everything. Yes, when you're surrendered, when you have that Sharanagat, then Nishta, after Anartha Nivriti has cleared the impediments and obstacles, then this Nishta, when I cannot withdraw my mind from Krishna. And then from that stage we can go to Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, etc. Ultimately Prem. His mission is to teach people how to dovetail themselves into engagements of transcendental loving service. He shows us in his own life. The Lord's acceptance of the role of a devotee in the eternal form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is another of the Lord's wonderful features. The Lord has so many features. We see him as a tortoise with a mountain on his back, holding up that Mandara mountain while he has a activity in that realm, as Matsya pulling the ark or the boat of Satyabrat Muni through the turbulent waters of the annihilation. Kalki coming at the end of every single other Kali Yuga and annihilating all the miscreants. Krishna himself coming, Yada Yada Hidanmas, or yes, yada yada hitamnasya, glanya bhavati bharata, annihilating all the miscreants, parityanaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam. So Krishna has many activities, but this activity of this incarnation is specifically to give this love of Godhead. The Lord's acceptance of the role of a devotee in the eternal form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is another of the Lord's wonderful features. Yes, the Lord has so many wonderful features. A conditioned soul cannot reach the absolute personality of Godhead by his imperfect endeavor. We've described this many times, this arohapanta, this ascending process, trying to crash the gates of heaven, so to speak. Utterly impossible. We can try endlessly, and millions and millions of yogis, etc., have tried this path, only to accept defeat ultimately. The Lord is the supreme. Our path is to bow the head, that avarohapanta, accept that mercy from him to carry us forward. The conditioned soul cannot reach the absolute personality of Godhead by his imperfect endeavor, and therefore it is wonderful that Lord Sri Krishna, in the form of Lord Gauranga, has made it easy for everyone to approach him. So simple. It has to be simple in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, there are so many natural obstacles for us. Bad food, bad air, bad water, bad sound vibrations everywhere. These electronic obstructions constantly surrounding the living entity. If we see practically everyone in the world is just glued to their mobile phone. What is the result of that? It speeds up time. It's described that time becomes like crunched. No one has any time because those electronical impacts on the brain just speed the brain. So it's all going across a very superficial level. No one has time, real time, to develop loving relationships, even just material loving relationships, because the minds become so scattered with the intensity of this digital bombardment that we're all being impacted with. Even if we're not on our mobiles, we get the impact of it from the association of other people. Swarupa Damodar Goswami has described Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself with the attitude of Radharani. This is most important. Or a combination of Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanav. Eka means one. Radha and Krishna have become one. The intention of Lord Chaitanya is to taste Krishna's sweetness in transcendental love. Transcendental love, this highest loving exchange, only exists in Vrindavan. It only exists in full Madhurya Ras, without any Aishwarya at all. This is full-blown transcendental Ras. And this is what Mahaprabhu has come to taste. He's come to taste this Braja Prem, this Braja Ras himself. He does not care to think of himself as Krishna. If he's thinking of himself as Krishna, how can he taste that intimacy? Because he wants the position of Radharani. So he wants to be immersed in that identity of Sri Radhika. Therefore, he won't be considering himself as Krishna. When Mahaprabhu himself goes to Vrindavan without Gadadhar Pandit, he goes alone just with Balabhadra Bhattacharya. And very quickly, he starts to feel that sham, that Krishna bhav rising in his heart, because he's relating to Vrindavan as he was previously. He's seeing the cows, he's seeing Jamuna, etc., the trees, the forests, and he's remembering himself as Sham. So therefore he only stays about 12 days in Vrindavan, because that's not his intention, is to wake up his Krishna identity. His intention is to wake up his mood of Radharani, this bhav of Radha that he has in his heart, in potential initially. It doesn't fully manifest until He comes, of course, to the Godavari with Rai Ramananda, and then he goes back in the Gambhira in Puri, and he develops the intensity of this identity as Radha. He wants the position of Radharani. We should remember this. We see in the Shikshastakam, in the 5th verse, Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitambam Vishvam Bhuvam Bodho. This Ai Nanda, this Ai is spoken by a female. It's a female grammatical calling out for Krishna. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram. It's not from a male. So in the 5th verse of the Shikshastakam, Mahaprabhu has fully immersed himself in this mood of Sri Radhika. He is, to all intents and purposes, Sri Radhika in her mood, in Bhav and Kanti. Not utterly internally, he's always Krishna. But he's developed that intensity of Bhav to appreciate himself, to serve Krishna. This is his desire. We should remember this. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying, whoever thinks that Prabhupada didn't write about these esoteric Vrindavan topics completely hasn't read or studied sufficiently. These purports and commentaries are so indicative of Prabhupada's personal immersion into the highest, most esoteric moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How else could he write such a commentary like this? A class of so-called devotees called Nadia Nagaris or Gora Nagaris pretend that they have the sentiment of gopis towards Krishna. Tend towards gopis towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only comes in a mood of dasya ras, and all his parikas are all in that mood of dasya ras. There is no madhurya exchanges between the parikas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that sense, they all are meditating on the internal aspects in Vrindavan. But externally, there's not a single cent or drop of that external relationship between. Some are thinking, oh, at night, perhaps Gadadhar assumes the form of Radha and has a conjugal relationship with Mahaprabhu, or perhaps Nityananda, or as Janava, as Ananga Manjari, or others have relationship with Mahaprabhu. This is completely bogus. This is not at all what is Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is making this point very, very clearly. They do not realize that he placed himself not as the enjoyer. Mahaprabhu isn't acting out that enjoying propensity of Krishna. He's acting out the nature of the ashraya, the servant of Krishna, in order to taste the sweetness of service, not of this bliss, not the vishaya. Understand it, it's quite simple. But as the enjoyed, the devotee of Krishna, Mahaprabhu is the devotee of Krishna. He's not taking the position of Krishna, being the Vishaya. If he did that, then those parikas could be enjoying some sort of relationship at night, whatever. These Gora Nagaris are completely nothing to do with Mahaprabhu's mood. Pick up the mood, the speciality of his mood. The concoctions of unauthorized persons pretending to be bona fide have not been accepted by Lord Chaitanya. Presentations such as those of the Gora Nagaris are only disturbances to the sincere execution of the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is undoubtedly Krishna himself. Yes, he's Krishna himself. And he is always non-different from Srimati Radharani. Krishna and Srimati Radhika ultimately are one. Purna Shakti, Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shakti Man. Dui Vastu Beda Nai, Shastra Praman. Radha and Krishna, Shakti and Shaktiman are one. Like heat and fire are one. Yet there is a distinction we'll describe. Lord Chaitanya is undoubtedly Krishna himself, and he is always non-different from Sri Radhika. We've just said that verse, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Hladini Shakti Asmad. They are this oneness. But the emotion technically called Vipralamba Bhav, which the Lord adopted for confidential reasons, should not be disturbed in the name of service. Mahaprabhu wants to perform seva, this Braja seva, this Parakiya seva, this mood of service that Radhika has for Krishna. He doesn't want to take the role of the Vishaya. That would be taking the role of Krishna. He's already experienced the role of Krishna in his previous incarnation. But the emotion technically called Vipralamba Bhav, which the Lord adopted for confidential reasons, should not be disturbed in the name of service. That's why it's such a tragedy when we see uneducated people putting peacock feathers on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding that he is that supreme God. He hasn't come to demonstrate that mood. He's come to demonstrate the mood of a servant, in the mood of Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika is the greatest servant, that Ashraya. A mundana should not unnecessarily intrude into the affairs of transcendence and thereby displease the Lord. Understand one thing, that this bhakti, bhakta, and bhagavat are all emanations from the Chit Shakti, or from the Antaranga Shakti, or from the Para Shakti. They are all emanations from that highest nature of the jiva. We are immersed as conditioned jivas in this bahiranga, this lower, external, mayic energy. So when we try to interpret things from the mayic perspective, it completely disturbs the speciality and sweetness of that Antaranga, or that Parashakti, that Swarup Shakti. It's completely distinct. This is the reflection of that perfect world. We have to appreciate this. A mundana should not unnecessarily intrude into affairs of transcendence and thereby displease the Lord. One must always be on guard against this sort of devotional anomaly. The heart of the conditioned souls, he wants to enjoy matter, because that's how he's being conditioned. He has this acquired nature to enjoy matter. We're trying to purify that focus of attention and come to the spiritual appreciation of my own spirit, my own realization of my own spiritual identity, which is separate completely from this mayic illusion, this world that we live in the mayic reality. It's completely different. So therefore it's internal, antaranga. It's not external, bahiranga. If we try and bring the external into the internal, it's going to create discord. If we're practicing this path truly, this ragatmika, this raganuga, following the ragatmikas, then it's going to be internally blossoming, not necessarily externally blossoming. There won't be necessarily any external display of that. It's an internal relish. But the nature of the external Bahiranga Shakti is to try and demonstrate everything and to put ourselves as the hero, so to speak, or that person who is actually capable of understanding these matters externally. But it's an internal appreciation that we're praying for. Understand? One must always be on guard against this sort of devotional anomaly. Anomaly means something that is incorrect. A devotee is not meant to create disturbances to Krishna. As Srila Rupa Goswami has explained, devotional service is anukulyena, favorable, anukul, always favorable, or favorable to Krishna. Acting unfavorably towards Krishna is not devotion. How can that be devotion? Kamsa was the enemy of Krishna. He always thought of Krishna, but he thought of him as an enemy. One should always avoid such unfavorable so-called service. Be careful. Understand the moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's parikas. They're all in Dasya Ras. Gadadhar Pandit, who is Radhika, directly is in a mood of service. She hides her natural Bhamya Bhav, her contrary mood, in that manifestation completely. And she takes the role of submission to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu tells Gadadhar to return to Puri when Gadadhar wants to come to Vrindavan with Mahaprabhu. And there's a very poignant, pathetic pastime where Gadadhar, he gives up his service to Tota Gopinath and begins to follow Mahaprabhu. And they come to the banks of the river there. And Mahaprabhu is Gadadhar to return. And Gadadhar has to return directly. Mahaprabhu is saying directly. And Gadadhar passes out, faints in complete anguish that his Lord should be leaving on such a long journey without him. So he's controlled by Mahaprabhu entirely. Whereas in Krishna Lila, it's not like that, not the same. So Mahaprabhu is directly, but all the parikas are all in Dasya Ras. Just like Advaita Acharya wants to relish this Dasya Ras. And when Mahaprabhu is trying to proclaim, oh, he's such a great personality, he's the disciple of my Param Gurudev, Madhavendra Puri, then Advaita Acharya arranges for a situation where Mahaprabhu will actually beat him. And then Advaita Acharya is thinking, yes, now I'm in ecstasy. Now I've attained that Dasya Ras mood. All are in Dasya, not in this conjugal mood. This is called Gaura Nagari. This is most condemned. Lord Chaitanya has accepted the role of Radharani, and we should support that position, as Swarup Damodar did in the Gambhira, the room where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in Puri. He always reminded Lord Chaitanya of Radha's feelings of separation as they are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Chaitanya appreciated his assistance. Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda, they were supporting Mahaprabhu's moods as being that Srimati Radhika, in love with Krishna, not making him feel like he was Krishna, or he couldn't have actually tasted the relish of himself, which was his intention. But the Gauranagaris, who place Lord Chaitanya in the position of enjoyer and themselves as his enjoyed, are not approved by Lord Chaitanya or by Lord Chaitanya's followers. Instead of being blessed, the foolish imitators are left completely apart. Their concoctions are against the principles of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The doctrine of transcendental enjoyment by Krishna cannot be mixed up with the doctrine of transcendental feeling of separation from Krishna in the role of Radharani. This is what Mahaprabhu is tasting in Puri, this mood of separation, this Vipralamba Bhav. He's tasting that constantly in his final 24 years. How can that be enhanced if he's feeling that he is that Krishna himself? So our service to the Lord is to support that mood. I hope everyone is clear on this. Prabhupada is writing so beautifully here. It's so crystal clear. It's absolutely without fault and just cutting through any misconceptions. Text 42.
Dasya Sakya Vatsala Araye Shringara Chari Prema Chaturvida Bhakta I Adhara.
Translation. 4 kinds of devotees are the receptacles of the 4 kinds of mellows in love of God, namely servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. 4 types of devotees. Text 43.
Nija Nija Bhave Sabe Sreshta Kariman Nija Bhave Kare Krishna Sukha Asvadan.
Translation. Each kind of devotee feels that his sentiment is the most excellent, and thus in that mood he tastes great happiness with Lord Krishna. It's like, for example, Mother Yashoda. If she had any idea of Krishna's relationship with the gopis, it wouldn't impact her mood of motherhood one iota. She is completely, totally satisfied, fully with her mood of Vatsalya Bhav. And the Sakhas are utterly, even the Priyanama Sakhas are utterly satisfied in their mood of Sakhya Bhav with Krishna. They would not want to exchange it for that mood of Madhurya or Sringara with the gopis. Completely, fully satisfied. Oh, thank you. My voice is clear above the grinding machine, the grinding material energy sitting behind me. The world doesn't want to really hear these topics because they're engrossed in mundanity. So the Mayic, illusory sounds try to drown us out. But still we carry on. Text 44.
Tatashta hoye mana vichari yadika kari sabarasa hoite shinga adika madhuri.
Translation. But if we compare the sentiments in an impartial mood, we find that the conjugal sentiment is superior to all others in sweetness. Purport. No one is higher or lower than anyone else in transcendental relationships with the Lord. For in the absolute realm, everything is equal. This is called a mood of Vaishishtya, speciality. There is speciality within the moods. There is not one is higher and one is lower. There's speciality. Sakyaras is glorious. Dasyaras in Vrindavan is glorious. Vatsalyaras is glorious. But this Sringara or Madhurya Ras, in fact, from an impartial view, is the most glorious. But although these relationships are absolute, that means they're absolute, there are also transcendental differences between them. Thus, the transcendental relationship of conjugal love is considered the highest perfection, because this is going to be the subject matter of what what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is going to describe, what all the Goswamis have described. Krishnadas Kaviraj is not saying anything different he's just saying the teachings of Rupa and Raghunath, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These are all the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we're getting like on a plate, so to speak. Very easy to digest, made even more simple to digest by the purports of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Text 45.
Yutotram ashu swada vishalo asamayapi ratirvasanya swadvi basate kapi kasyachit.
Translation. Increasing love is experienced in various tastes, one above another. But that love which has the highest taste is the gradual succession of desire manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. Conjugal love is most pleasing to Krishna. Therefore, it's the highest taste to Krishna. Krishna leaves his mother and father. He leaves Vatsalya Bhav every day to go to the forest. He leaves Sakhya Bhav also with his Sakhas. He leaves them also. This is the proof that actually this conjugal love is the highest pleasure for Krishna. Otherwise, why would he leave all the others? He leaves them for 5 hours in the midday, this Madhyana Lila, every single day. He leaves all his Sakhas. He leaves the cows. He leaves his parents, this Vatsalya Ras, for even longer. So this is the proof that this Sringara Ras is actually the highest Ras. And the Sakhas, they don't taste this Sringara Ras in the same way as the gopis taste it. It must be inferior, otherwise they would be gopis. This is a verse from Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.38. Text 46.
Ataiva madura rasa kahitaranam swakiya parakiya bhav dvivida samastan.
Therefore I call it Madhurya Ras. It has 2 further divisions. Yes, we're not finished yet. It has 2 further divisions, namely wedded and unwedded. Parakiya, para means other. Swa means own. Swakiya, own. When you marry, you own each other. the spouse and the wife and husband, they have a mood of ownership, swakiya. But para is something other than the wife and husband, parakiya. Text 47.
Parakiya bhave ati rasera ulas, brajabina ihara anyatra nahivas.
There is a great increase of mellow in the unwedded conjugal mood. Such love is found nowhere but in Braj. This is a very, very important verse. There's an increase in mellow. We know already that rasa means increasing. Nothing is static in the world of rasa. Everything is ecstatic. Everything is increasing, moment by moment by moment. So when we also can experience something to that degree in our chanting or our focus, our meditation, perhaps in our seva to Guru, at moments there might be that unbroken mood of joy that just becomes increasing and increasing. And certainly in Braj, this unwedded parakiya, without understanding parakiya, we cannot understand Braja Prem. Not at all, not at all. Parakiya is the essence of Braja Ras. So this must be opened out and unpacked fully. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj will do. Text 48.
Brajavadu ganer e baba nirabadi, taramadye shri radaya bhavara avadi.
This mood is unbounded in the damsels of Braj. Only the damsels of Braj perform this parakiya bhav. The Sakhas don't perform parakiya bhav. How can they? They don't have any conjugal relationship with the Lord. It's only the Brajamramanis, the Sakhis. But among them, it finds its perfection in Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika is called this Atyantika Adhika Madhya. Atyantika means going to the very limit. She's going to the very limit of, there's no one in her league. Atyantika. Lalita is called Apekshika. She is secondary to that. Is Apekshika Adhika. Text 49.
Prodha nirmala bhav prema sarvotama, Krishnar madhya rasa asvada karana.
I wish I was Bengali and could pronounce these verses, because they are, if you hear them sung properly, they're absolute nectar to hear. Translation. Her pure, mature love surpasses that of all others. Her love is the cause of Lord Krishna's tasting the sweetness of the conjugal relationship. She loves Krishna more than all others. Aradhana, this mood of devotion. Utterly, no one loves. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Hare Ishvara. It's described in Bhagavatam that gopi who went off with Krishna is most special to him, leaving all of us others behind. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Hare Ishvara. Yanno Vishaya Govinda Yat Vriti Hasya. I've forgotten the last line of that verse. Text 50.
Ataiva se bhava angikara kari, sadilena nijavansha gauranga shri hari.
Translation. Therefore, Lord Gauranga, who is Lord Hari himself, it becomes more beautiful when we always are appreciating this is non-different to Krishna, but in the mood of the Ashraya, accepted the sentiments of Radha and thus fulfilled his own desires. This is such confidential teachings of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in this chapter 4, most profound chapter. So purport. Of the 4 kinds of reciprocation of loving service, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya, Madhurya is considered the fullest. But the conjugal relationship is further divided into 2 varieties, namely Swakya and Parakiya. Swakya is the relationship with Krishna as a formerly married husband, and Parakya is the relationship with Krishna as a paramour. Expert analysts have decided that the transcendental ecstasy of the Parakya mellow is better because it is more enthusiastic. Why is it more? It's proven to be more enthusiastic. The gopis have to overcome so many obstacles to meet with Krishna. Their mother-in-laws, their husbands, their brothers, etc. There are so many obstacles to meeting with Krishna. So many obstacles are arranged. Even the political obstacles amongst all the gopis themselves. So overcoming these obstacles gives great incentive and great enthusiasm. If they overcome all these obstacles, then when they finally meet Krishna, what sort of union and meeting will they be experiencing? When Sri Radhika, she has to go in the dark night, through the rain sometimes, to meet Krishna. And there's thorns in the puddles, etc. She's afraid of meeting someone, any stranger. It's described she's running like a rabbit, very quick and then stops, then very quick and then stops, very quick and then stops. That's how she runs, checking out. But it's all obstacles that she has to overcome to meet with Krishna. So when they finally meet, this description of because it is more enthusiastic is a beautiful description of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is better because it is more enthusiastic. This phase of conjugal love is found in those who have surrendered to the Lord in intense love, with so much love, knowing well that such illicit love with a paramour is not morally approved in society. These gopis are the most dharmic personalities we could consider. Young girls, they are so versed in the laws of dharma and morality. Even in India today, you'll find young girls, 14, 15 years old, are completely dharmically chaste. Actually, often the mothers don't even allow them out of their houses at any time. Certainly not unchaperoned or without their mothers. And when they come out, they're very chaste and very shy. This is the culture of this land of Bharatvarsh. What to speak of the gopis? They're coming from an even more entrenched, beautiful, civilized culture that was 5,000 years ago. And they have to break all that maryad, that shrinkala, it's described, these chains, these shackles that were binding them, their dharma, their chastity, their shyness even. A young girl should not be bold in her proclamation of her lover towards her lover. Not at all. This is not the mood of a dharmic environment or civilization. Yet the gopis are breaking that dharma just out of intense love. The love is overwhelming. The sound of Krishna's flute is just too captivating to keep them in their homes. Even their family relationships they are breaking, knowing that they will be scolded, perhaps kicked out of their houses. Still they go. Knowing well that such illicit love with a paramour is not morally approved in society, the risks involved in such love of Godhead make this emotion superior to the relationship in which such risk is not involved. When they're married, in other words, this swakya, there's no risk. Krishna just comes to the palace and there's no risk in the Rukmini, Satyabhama, Mitravinda, Lakshmana, all the queens honoring him beautifully. There's no risk of anyone breaking in and saying, oh, you shouldn't be here, shouldn't do this. But in the relationship of parakya, this heightened intensity is always there in the backdrop. The validity of such risk, however, is possible only in the transcendental realm. It should not be imitated in any way. Swakya and parakya conjugal love of Godhead have no existence in the material world, and parakya is not exhibited anywhere in Vaikuntha. Lakshmi Devi, she wants to come into Braja Dham. She's still performing austerities in Bailvan. There's no parakya in Vaikuntha. There's no parakya in Dwarka. Mathura. This is not there. It's all Swakiya. It's described, the mood in Swakiya goes as far as Anurag. Anurag. This mood of the queens of Dwarka, they come to a stage of Anurag. But the gopis go beyond there. They go to Bhav, Mahabhav, Ruda, Adiruda, Madanakya, Mahabhav, way beyond those places of ecstatic bliss, because the whole dynamic of Parakya. And it wasn't that Krishna decided that he would perform this Parakya. It's Yogamaya who arranges all of this. We know the pastime of when Radharani, she's cooking in the kitchen of Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda inadvertently, she puts haldi, she puts turmeric on Radharani's hands, which means a sign of engagement. Radharani becomes very embarrassed and shy, and she dresses in her clothes and she goes back to Varshana, and she doesn't want to show anyone this turmeric on her hands, so she washes it off in one pond, and the whole pond becomes yellow. And some children are seeing what's happened, and they understood, oh, Radharani, she's washing this turmeric off her hands. And they run into the village, say, oh, Radharani must have been offered a proposal from Mother Yashoda to marry. And of course, this is all the residents of Varshana want to hear, that Radha and Krishna are going to get married. So Kirtida and Brishbhanu Maharaj, they immediately want to acknowledge that from Yashoda. So they send a beautiful basket of jewels across to Mother Yashoda. And Yashoda Mother, she receives this, and she only thinks, oh, this is an acceptance of my request that my son marries their daughter. And now the whole of Varshana begins buzzing with a mood, oh yes, Radharani is going to marry that most beloved personality, son of Nanda Baba. So everyone becomes very excited, and Purnamasi comes into the village. Oh, why is everyone so excited today? What's happening? And they all say, oh, haven't you heard? Radha and Krishna are going to be married. The engagement gifts have already been passed over to each other. And Purnamasi becomes ecstatic. This is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. Let's do that chart straight away. So she sits down in the dust and begins to draw the astrological houses of the constellations of their charts. And she sees everyone is crowding around to see what is Purnamasi's verdict going to be. First house, they couldn't be anything more compatible in the relationship between Radha and Krishna. And she goes on to the second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house. All the houses are extreme compatibility. Then she comes to the 12th house and goes very silent. And everyone is heightened anticipation here. What do you see? What do you see? And then Purnamasi Devi, who is Yogamaya, she pulls back, and in a very grave voice, she tells everyone, even though this marriage is so compatible, but if they marry, one of them must die. So that's it. Just in one sentence, that's it. Radha and Krishna can't be married because one of them will die. And that will just kill the Brijabasis. So all their excitement is completely deflated, fully. And Radha and Krishna don't get married because Purnamasi said so. Purnamasi is Yogamaya. She's the person who's arranging for this Parakya. And a little while later, Purnamasi directs, oh, Radharani, she should marry that Abhimanyu on the outskirts, with that mother, Jatila, who's always complaining. Brajabasi's, all right, this is horrible. She's always complaining, this Jatila, not a nice person necessarily, not open like the other Brijabasis, completely. But Purnamasi is saying, yes, this should be her husband. Abhimanyu, who we understand from Shastra, is actually the shadow of Krishna. So that marriage takes place. Then Radharani can perform Parakya Ras. Then the excitement and risk she has to take to meet Krishna is so enhanced. So this is the orchestration, this is the arrangement of Yogamaya. It's not that Krishna is thinking, yes, Parakya is going to... His servants, actually, Shri Radhika is ultimately that Yogamaya. She's inspiring that Yogamaya to arrange this for Krishna's pleasure. Everything for Krishna's pleasure. Swakiya and Parakiya, conjugal love of Godhead, have no existence in the material world, and Parakiya is not exhibited anywhere in Vaikuntha, but only in the portion of Golok Vrindavan known as Braj. There is nowhere else where this Parakiya is performed. Some devotees think that Krishna is eternally the enjoyer in Golok, Vrindavan, but only sometimes comes to the platform of Braj to enjoy Parakiya. There is that Jiva Goswami, he's written in his Gopal Champu about Radha and Krishna marrying. This is in Golok actually, this is not in Gokul, Vrindavan. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, however, have explained that Krishna's pastimes in Braj are eternal, like his other activities in Goloka Vrindavan. So in transcendental Vrindavan, in apricot Vrindavan, there is a conception that the gopis have husbands. They don't actually have husbands there, but they have this conception to heighten the ras. They have this conception that they have husbands. But in this Braj, Boma Vrindavan, they actually do have husbands. And Yogamaya has to manage that in a very brilliant way. She creates the replicas of the gopis to stay at home, so the husbands aren't disturbed by any envy, etc. Braj is a confidential part of Golok, Vrindavan. Krishna exhibited his Braja pastimes on the surface of this world, that's Brajabhumi, and similar pastimes are eternally exhibited in Braj in Golok, Vrindavan, where Parakiya Ras is ever existent. So he's talking about Braj as being here, Boma Vrindavan, where it's performed, but he's saying the point that this Parakiya is performed in Goloka Vrindavan also. In apricot Lila, as I've just said, they have a conception that they have husbands to heighten the ras. In the 3rd chapter of this epic, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada constantly refers to this wonderful granta as an epic. An epic is something very magnificent. And this description of Mahaprabhu and his character and teachings are the most magnificent, as well as munificent. They're magnanimous. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has explicitly accepted the fact that Krishna appears in this material world at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th Chatur Yuga of Vaivashvata Manu, and brings with him his Brajadam, which is the eternal abode of his highest pastimes. As the Lord appears by his own internal potency, so he also brings all his paraphernalia by the same internal potency, without extraneous help. All his paraphernalia manifest with him. All the eternal Nityasiddha Parikas, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, the gopis, the gopas, the cows, all manifest from Goloka Vrindavan, here in Boma Vrindavan. As the Lord appears by his own internal potency, so he also brings all his paraphernalia by the same internal potency, without extraneous help. It is further stated here in the Caitanya Caritamrta that the Parakiya sentiment exists only in that transcendental realm and nowhere else. This highest form of ecstasy can exist only in the most confidential part of the transcendental world, but by the causeless mercy of the Lord, we can have a peep into that invisible Braj. How glorious of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to pull the veil a little bit into that transcendental land of Brajadam by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what Mahaprabhu has come to gift us, a peep. Prabhupada used the word specifically, a peep, a glance. Prabhupada's English is excellent. A peep, he's using these words beautifully. The transcendental mellow, relished by the gopis of Braj, is super excellently featured in Srimati Radharani. Mature assimilation of the transcendental humor of conjugal love is represented by Srimati Radharani, whose feelings are incomprehensible even to the Lord himself. Krishna can't understand Sri Radhika. Krishna becomes completely bewildered. Krishna is that Mohini, modern Mohini, modern Mohan. And Sri Radhika is that modern Mohini. She completely bewilders Krishna. Krishna drops his flute, his peacock feather slips. So many verses describing this. No one can support Srimati Radharani in relishing the qualities of the Lord through this supreme transcendental mellow. She has that mood of Bhamyabhav, of contrary mood. Therefore, the Lord himself agreed to assume the position of Radharani in the form of the Lord Sri Gauranga. How amazing that Krishna himself wanted to manifest himself with that same mood, bhav, and complexion, kanti, as Sri Radhika. He then relished the highest position of Parakiya Ras as exhibited in the transcendental abode of Braja. So Krishna himself is able to taste fully this position of the Ashraya in Vrindavan Dham. Previously, he just relished the mood of the Vishaya, but now he's going to fully accept the Ashraya. This is who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and my Gurudev and all the Goswamis, all the Acharyas, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, etc., they've all taken great efforts and great lengths in their writings and teachings to explain these particular points. These points are most important. Soon we will begin the actual activities of Mahaprabhu when we come into the Madhya Lila and see how through his example he's teaching these same sentiments. But first we have to understand the internal reasons for his appearance. And this is what's being described in this fourth chapter. And we've only just begun the fourth chapter. It's going to get thicker, deeper, more tasty, more relishable as we go, which is the nature of all transcendental topics. They're always increasing. It's their nature to increase exponentially. If they're not increasing, then it's not really transcendental. It has to be increasing. This eternally increasing mood. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Rupanaka Guru Varak ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhameva patitanam pavnibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.